Hello, all of my incestuous lords and ladies. This is For Extraordinaire, and welcome to something new. We are doing an episode, actually, or a little review over the first dev diary for the Royal Court. So, without much stalling, I kind of made a bit of a stall in my last coverage of the Royal Court. I was kind of babbling on. I just want to get straight to the point and give you guys the meaty details. This is basically going to be a dev diary for Royal Court, followed by a few more detailing Royal Court in the DLC, just to keep the hype going. Then they're going to go back to the Azure patch. Then they're going to switch back to Royal Court, from my understanding. And I just want to go ahead and read this and get the content to you guys, and I'll give my opinions on some of the mechanics like Granger, and then just go ahead and try to present some opinions about that and conclude the video there. Greetings! Welcome to the first dev diary for the Royal Court expansion. As we mentioned in a previous dev diary, we'll go back to the Azure patch's dev diaries for a few weeks after this one, but do not fear. There will be some more Royal Court dev diaries before the summer holidays, and when we're back from the holidays, we'll have many Royal Court dev diaries for you, so obviously it's going to be definitely a while down the road. It's really hard to pick a topic for where to start, but we decided upon a dive into the namesake feature of the expansion. The Royal Court itself, your seat of royal majesty and power. The Royal Court consists of many features all collected within a 3D scene that we call the Throne Room. Here's an early work in progress screenshot of the Throne Room. Do note that it's a very early version, just can't wait to show you what we've been working on. So we have here a very Western style throne room. The characters seem to be very far away, so I don't know if we'll be able to display different kinds of models or structures within the throne room. This looks like it's on the level of a very low king, definitely not an emperor. It doesn't look too grand. It might even be a duke, though dukes can't actually hold court, so I'm not sure if they even get a throne room, though. It could be possible that they do get a throne room to display things, but they just can't hold court with their subjects. But anyhow, I'm loving the look of it, though it does look a bit spacious at the moment, so I'm just assuming this is a very early work in progress, as they don't even have a release date out for the expansion yet. Now, there are many things that go into the Royal Court itself. It interacts with numerous new features that'll come with the expansion. We won't go into detail on all of them today. If we did, this dev diary would become much too long. It's worth noting that this isn't just a graphical feature. While we admit the importance of immersion, we don't want any features to feel tacked on or superfluous. The throne room is there to show what's happening, what artifacts you've collected, which courtiers are having a fight, etc. This allows us to place your character in a scene together with others, showing that you're actually present in the same world. We're trying to bridge the gap between your character and the map, all while representing a side of medieval history we've never previously explored in detail. The importance for a ruler to show their power, their grandeur, to their subjects and peers. Every feudal clan king and emperor has a royal court. Tribal rulers do not have one, as the feature primarily models the formality and ceremonies surrounding the court, as well as the need for spending gold, while tribal rulers use prestige as their main resource. If a ruler is demoted to a lower rank through war, election, or just sheer bad luck, the royal court and everything therein will either stay dormant until you regain your lost status, or follow the character who now rules in your stead. And that is something I don't know if I necessarily disagree with. I'm going to have to break with the devs here. I think tribal rulers should at least have some kind of holding. I mean, these people, well, they are, I guess, using prestige as a base, and I think they did that similarly to CK2. But I mean, if they don't have some kind of holding, at least like some kind of tribal village, it's obviously not going to be as opulent and grand as a kingdom in Spain or a great mosque in the Middle East. But they should at least have some kind of graphics, like with the poles or something. It's not like it's completely underdeveloped with just muddy hill forts. There should at least be some kind of statute or some kind of grander holding just for the tribal villages. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a massive palace, but just something to show the characters that they at least have some kind of holding. I mean, it just seems a bit weird that you could have like a massive tribal holding, but you're still not going to have a kingdom as long as, or a royal meeting room as long as you just don't switch over to gold instead of prestige or something like that. I don't know if I'm understanding this incorrectly, but it just seems a bit weird that tribal rulers would be handicapped that way, and it just is a bit off-putting to me. Now, with Granger, the key concept that enables this is called Grandeur, a measurement of your standing in the eyes of your peers. While it's measured on a scale from 0 to 100, it's not necessarily a simple system. Increasing your grandeur will lead to direct political benefits, such as increased opinions, marriage acceptances, etc. It will also unlock new council jobs, such as being able to peacefully demand de jure land with the convince de jure territory job, or gain knight effectiveness while also decreasing enemy scheme success chance with the manage royal guards job. These effects motivate you to aim for a high level of grandeur, but naturally comes at a monetary cost. How much are you willing to spend on artifacts, amenities, or on positions within your court? You have to balance your political needs with your temporal ones, such as warfare or development. Sacrificing your grandeur entirely will cause instabilities both internal and external. Grandeur is not really a resource and is not actively spent, unlike something like prestige. It works on a much slower timescale and is something you must balance and work towards increasing over a longer period of time. Though there are, of course, choices and events that make grandeur increase or decrease with various trade-offs. So I think they need to clarify the wording here just a bit because it seems like there is some kind of spending. Because it says you unlock new council jobs and then you can peacefully demand de jure land, though I guess that's not always going to go through because that could be a problem in multiplayer. I don't get into multiplayer too much because if it was an automatic transaction, I think there was something similar with CK2. If you can just automatically demand this, like with with favors in CK2, that could really become a problem, especially with balancing multiplayer and just making it kind of meta to rush for grandeur. Though they say it does increase slowly over time, so I guess we'll just have to see how you increase this. And I'm also interested to see how they differentiate this from prestige because grandeur and prestige, at least for me, kind of are very similar words. So I think prestige, yeah, they also said it's a currency for tribal rulers. So going to be curious to see whether tribals interact with grandeur at all or they just completely ignore it. And I think de jure land is still important for tribals. So going to be a bit weird to see how they kind of interact with that, though I guess they might explain that later on here. Grandeur effects. As mentioned in the previous section, grandeur has several different effects and modifiers. It is divided into 10 separate levels with their own effects. For example, the very first level of grandeur unlocks the ability to hold court, which is a crucial component in achieving the higher grandeur levels. The second level unlocks a council task called Bestow Royal Favor, which is a powerful single-target task that increases the vassal's opinion of you while granting them, and you, prestige. One of the most significant effects of grandeur is its effect on attraction of inspired characters. The higher your grandeur is compared to that of your neighbors, the likelier you are to have these creative travelers visit your court first, giving you an opportunity for patronage, more on inspirations in a future DD. So, it's going to be curious just to see how much grandeur you can really pull in and see just the bizarre, amazing characters that you can get because CK2 had some kind of weird system where you just assign or summon new members to the court if you didn't have, I think it was using prestige too, but if you didn't have anyone to fill specific slots, you could always try to summon people, which seems to be a lot more passive with grandeur. So again, grandeur seems to be taking some of the roles prestige has, but I don't know how fine the line will be between these two mechanics, since grandeur doesn't seem to be as solid as a currency as prestige, though I guess as with everything with new DLC, it's probably best to wait until it's actually displayed by the developers. Some of these levels will give courtiers who stay within it a favorable trait, which will increase their skills and attributes based on the type of court they're staying at. A particularly grand court might even see a more powerful trait appear, making such characters excellent for various jobs and court positions. More on court positions in a later DD, so obviously they're setting up a lot of things here. Several grandeur levels have effects and modifiers based on your court type. A type of flavorful perk for your courts. Depending on your cultural ethos, you'll get, and then there's obviously some intersection with culture there, you'll get access to a few different types, such as a diplomatic or warlike court. All royal courts have a type, and among other things, it affects the type of trait that courtiers get. The bonuses granted from these types are varied and aim to enhance a certain style of play. The AI will tend to go for the court type most reflective of their cultural ethos and situation. For example, Indian kings will often want a scholarly court since many Indian cultures have a spiritual ethos. As an example, having a diplomatic court type will grant you bonuses to vassalization acceptance, tyranny gain, opinion, and potentially even unlock a personal scheme slot. A warlike court type might instead see bonuses to MAA. If you guys in the description know what that means, I'm a bit new to this terminology, but MAA, counter efficiency, knight, I think it's men-at-arms. Counter efficiency, knight efficiency, and the maximum size of men-at-arms regiments. As not all cultures can access all court types, this is another reason to pursue hybridization or divergence. And then more, again, 3 times the charm. More on that in a later dev diary. So they are really setting up things and foreshadowing things longer down the road, which is kind of why I'm a bit upset that we have to wait for Azure, because this is all such it seems to be very detailed and juicy in terms of the things the developers have already thought out, and we don't even have a release date. But really nice to see that the expansion is having a very broad effect, and I think I see where the developers are going on here with the tribal villages and their interactions. Obviously, trying to give, I say obviously, I'm not trying to be condescending, but they're trying to give tribal villages a reason, or tribal kingdoms a reason to go over to a more feudal side and develop, as opposed to CK2, where sometimes it was just advantageous just to have a huge horde of levies and whatnot and just completely storm your neighbors. Seems to not be the case with CK3, and they're really trying to make feudal, at least most feudal societies, more appealing than some of the tribal options. Granger Expectations. Now, Grandeur isn't only about reaching the level that gives the effect you desire, it's also about managing expectations. Depending on a number of factions, such as your tier or the size of your realm, you'll have a certain expectation put upon your royal court. The expectation is a double-edged sword. If your grandeur is below expectations, you'll suffer increasing diplomatic penalties as people lose respect. While if it's exceeded, you might see powerful diplomatic bonuses. These are scaled based on how powerful you are. A rather small kingdom that undershoots its expectations won't be hit particularly hard, while a massive empire such as the Holy Roman Empire or Byzantium will be punished much harder if they fail to live up to the expectations put upon them. The effects of not living up to your expectations are many: reduced prestige, renown, and a hefty hit to opinion with both foreign rulers, courtiers, and vassals. A large realm might easily find itself facing significant unrest unless its rulers start spending on grandeur. On the other hand, a small kingdom that vastly exceeds the expectations put upon it might see significant bonuses to its diplomatic power, as well as renown and other bonuses. So really great to see Granger kind of becoming more than just stability. I'm trying to equate it to something, but it seems to be kind of a mix between prestige and stability with a bit more interactivity and nuance, because you are being rewarded when you have it past a certain level and below a certain level. I know stability kind of had some similar effects, but it looks like some events might even be tied to this, as well as courtiers' opinions. But I really want to see and want to know more about how this affects and relates to religious conversion. Specifically, if you are the first to convert to a new religion, like if I want to convert from Islam to Zoroastrianism, and obviously Muslims can't convert openly, at least. I don't know how secret societies function too much with CK3 now, but in CK2, you really were encouraged to at least go with some kind of secret society and slowly convert your other courtiers. So I'm just wondering how exactly this functions with religious conversions, and whether you will be penalized severely if you are the first to convert, but your other vassals and courtiers have not converted to the religion, and just to see how much strain will be put on you with grandeur when you convert, and if that's going to be addressed at all. I think it will at least have some function to grandeur, because I don't think your courtiers would view you to be as grand or meeting their expectations if you just suddenly converted to something like Zoroastrianism. But that remains to be seen. So, court events. Now, the royal court isn't all about grandeur, of course. Another important role it holds is to show that there's life in your court. This is done through court events, happenings contained within the court, taking place between those who live therein. This new type of event uses the throne room as its backdrop, transforming the entire throne room into an event when they happen. Unlike normal events, this type of event is non-interruptive. You get notified that something is happening, whereby you can go into your royal court, inspect the scene, find whoever is involved, and trigger the event yourself. Interesting. Usually these events are some sort of drama happening between your courtiers, which you can choose to simply ignore if you feel like you have more important matters to attend to. Okay? I think I see what they're trying to do here and try to tie this to some of their more active events, which also take scenes. But this kind of reminds me, I don't know if this is too much of a reach, but if any of you have played Kingmaker, Pathfinder Kingmaker, the CRPG, obviously CK3 and Pathfinder have entirely different play styles and settings, but one thing that they both seem to emphasize here, if I'm at least reading this correctly, is that there's some kind of passive role, or at least the throne room won't be as demanding, but you can always come back and check it in between some of your conquests, in between some personal affairs. So it's going to be fun to see and interact with some of that drama, though I don't know how well the developers will be able to deliver on this promise, whether it will be too pressing or not, and how much the player will be penalized if they don't access this drama. But again, we should probably wait until another dev diary just to take a note from the developers' books. But all of this is super, super exciting. So the developers are ending off saying these events come in many different flavors, mostly focusing on how it is to live in the court, which is amazing. Always loving that RP flavor. I always don't mind just taking a little bit of RP and running along with it if the game provides it. So some examples of court events that are being worked on currently include courtiers causing you embarrassment through their drinking or poor manners, or getting into arguments with your architect. Okay, that could be a bit humorous. Others involve things like rumors spreading about your predecessor on the throne, or popular and unflattering songs about you spreading within the court itself. Okay. Court events might also be things like foreign ambassadors trying to uncover your secrets, or devout courtiers shaming you and your court for your frivolous living. Okay, and so far I haven't seen any mention of religion and if that gossip, maybe if you secretly convert, whether that gossip will be on display in the court or if it takes precedence with a more serious, like, quick time event. But now, of course, there's more that goes on into the royal court, but we'll save going into details regarding court artifacts, the UI and graphical looks of the throne rooms, court positions, and so on for future dev diaries, which I will be covering on the channel if you guys really like this one. Of course, this expansion isn't all about the royal court. Before the summer break starts, you'll get to read about some of the other features coming with the expansion and patch. That's all for now. All right, and that is all for now for this video. This has been a bit of a longer video, but if you guys really like this video, leave a like and subscribe to show me you want to see more Dev Diary content. This is definitely a first for me, but I'll try to read up more on CK3, get a few hours of gameplay more into it. I've been trying and testing out CK3 with the Northern Lords expansion. It's been fairly fun, but I'm still definitely getting used to the mechanics, and it is definitely distinguished from CK2 in a few of its aspects. But thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Civ Extraordinaire, and I'm looking forward to the Royal Court. If you guys are too, let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of the week. Peace.